Hey,
Is this working? Can you hear me okay?
yeah, it's great.
Perfect. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too, Georgie.
I would like to ask, how do I pronounce your name properly? Because I don't want to butcher it at some point.
Meta.
Meta, okay. I thought
Yeah,
it was, but I was like, I just, gotta make sure
yeah,
I don't want to be done for saying something in the
uh-huh.
wrong way. But
Thank
no,
you.
thank you so much for organizing this. I'm sorry I'm a bit late.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I
I've
I was thinking 20, but yeah, the time is great.
What time? Yeah, I mean, I've been awake since like 5 this morning because I had a driving exam.
Uh-huh.
Um, got to get that license, girl. So we've got the license now. That's sorted. But I fell asleep and was like, oh shit, I've fallen asleep, and then was like, I need to eat something, otherwise I'm just going to be chatting so much shit when I'm on this call. So thank you for bearing in mind with me there. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's awesome to have you on and nice to yeah, I mean I would love to be in person, but it's so awesome to have this kind of call. So love that.
Yeah,
And thank you for coming on. Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah, just
So. So, like, what is it? So, what is it that you do? Because Minna's told me a little bit, but I'd rather hear it
uh-huh.
from the horse's mouth, as we say.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, so where are you at now?
I'm in Finland,
You're in Finland.
but I'm originally from Manchester.
Right.
So, um, so yeah, it's I don't know what time it is where you are. It looks a lot brighter than it is at my house currently.
It's uh about to sit in another time, but 1928.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're based in like Europe then?
Yeah, yeah, Denmark. Denmark.
Oh, fabulous!
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
cool.
Um yeah, I connected with Minna Lindqvist and
Yep.
in the kind of at the end of our conversation, she mentioned you and she yeah encouraged me to get in contact. So that's I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, Minna is she knows absolutely everybody. And if she doesn't know somebody, then it won't take her long to know somebody. So
Uh-huh.
she's a crazy bitch, honestly. And she won't mind me saying that. So,
Yeah.
but it's but yeah, no, she kind of came to me and she told me that she'd done the podcast, and she was like, you should, she wants you to do it. And I was like, yeah, I'm down for anything. Like I'm more than happy to jump on a call and have a chat. Sounds like fun to me.
Mm, cool. I love that. Yeah, I have been wanting honestly to have to kind of dive into drag more on my podcast since
Mm.
I started, but it's kind of I've been so nervous about it. So I'm like, how do I start this? I gotta because yeah, just nervous about I think
Yeah.
all the things I'm like, what about asking the right questions or not? And yeah.
Mm.
But I usually start with kind of asking my guests about their story, 5 to 10 minutes, kind of get to know like
Hmm.
where you're from, how you come to where you're at. But I also like to ask something I've been thinking about, which is like if there's like one memory or something that you remember as a child or as a young as a teenager or anything that kind of is something that I don't know that you see like that this is like what like something that defines or me who I am, what I do today. Um
Oh, yeah, I definitely have like a set memory for that.
okay. Uh-huh.
So um when I like the thing they always say, look back on your inner child and you'll be able to see like, where you came from in life and all of this stupid shit, RuPaul, whatever. And for me, growing up, I didn't realize I was a drag queen or queer until a little bit later on in my life.
Hmm.
But the signs were always there. So it originally started back when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. Whenever I was in the car with my mum,
Mm.
We had CDs, and she was a massive Madonna fan.
Mm.
And so every single day in the car, I would put Madonna on and listen to the album from top to bottom.
Mhm.
If we were on the way to school, I was lip syncing the songs, I was singing along to them. The first album was Confessions on a Dance Floor, so like Hung Up and things like that. Um, and so I was just absolutely obsessed with it. And the first lip sync performance I actually ever did was when I want to say I was maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Mm.
And I took part in the talent show at school. And I really wanted to lip sync Like a Prayer. That was my favorite song. It still is.
Mm.
And
Like a
basically,
prayer.
but not just the one off the album. Of
Right.
course, like the true queer I am that I
Uh-huh.
didn't know, I had to lip sync the Like a Prayer version that was on her American Life live tour CD, right? So
Mm.
I knew every word.
Yeah.
Um, and I entered this competition, and I turned up to school in my mum's over the knee high boots, these hot pants, and this glittery t-shirt. My mum did my hair and my makeup, and I started, and I went in to perform. And my mum always tells me about how she rang the school. She sent me off to school that morning and was like, yeah, whatever. She's not really going to do it, is she? And she rang the school and was like, is she actually going to do this? And they were like, Diva, she's on stage like right now. Like, what the fuck? Like, and I did. I lip synced Like a Prayer, whole thing unchoreographed, like a true drag queen.
Oh my God.
And I won the talent show.
Uh-huh.
And it was like that was the
Brilliant.
defining moment that I think back on and go, wow, it really was like meant to be. Like this is crazy.
Uh-huh. Wow.
But I had no idea what drag was. I was just doing it because it was fun.
Right.
Um, but it's definitely one of those moments that I look back on and I'm like, oh yeah, like
Uh-huh.
now I'm getting paid to do it, so that's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that. That reminds me of myself when I would either in school or I would at home stand
Mm,
in my apartment and that was what is there? I Can Find Myself Flowers. Miley Cyrus,
yes,
but that's
yes,
a song, just like it was something made it one of those with USA or something.
yeah, Party in the USA.
Yeah.
Gonna throw my hands up.
Yeah. I was
Love that one.
doing and I would dance off with that one. Yeah. That's so cool. I love that.
Mm,
Um, that's how has you have you stuck to that since then? Or like you obviously have, but have you been like did you like since you did that, did you stuck with that since or did you kind of like pauses or did you kind of like
yeah,
how was
so I mean, I was always involved in sort of like, the theatre clubs outside of school.
uh-huh.
I did drama lessons, I did the
Mm.
grades and things like that that you can do. But it was always just extracurricular. My parents were very
Mm.
much academic, like they wanted me to study, they wanted me to do business, but I was drawn to this more creative side. So
Mm.
growing up, um I never really sort of took it seriously because it
Mm.
wasn't within my family sort of nature, so I
Right.
did take a break from it. But I sort of like a little spark was ignited when
Mm.
I went on holiday to Provincetown in America. We were doing a
Mm.
tour of like that part of the coast,
Uh-huh.
so we did like Boston and New York, and we did Provincetown for a couple of days. And whilst we were there, it was Pride.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea. I was 16, or 15, and I had no idea what the hell was going on.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm in the middle of Provincetown, there's this drag queen who's chasing a dumpster truck, right? And she's going, "There's my ride, there's my ride." And I just remember thinking, that is the funniest bitch I've ever met in my entire life.
Uh-huh.
Like, I need a picture of her now. So I like ran up to her with my mum and was like, take a picture of us. We got a picture taken, and then that was like my realization into the world of drag, because I didn't know, I'd never met drag queens before then.
Mm.
Um, and so it was only, and then I started going to university and started watching RuPaul's Drag Race. And when I was in Manchester, I was going to a lot of the gay bars, which had drag
Mm.
shows on every night. So I was getting more and more introduced to this scene.
Yeah.
And it was when I was maybe, it could have even been during the pandemic. So when I was sort of like 21, 22,
Yeah.
my sister sends me a picture and she's like, holy shit, look at who you met. Do you remember this night in Provincetown? And
Uh-huh.
I opened the picture and I'd met Lady Bunny,
Oh.
like literally RuPaul's best friend.
Oh.
Literally, like the beginning of drag was there in the, club kid scene, back in the day in New York. I was just like, if this isn't a sign that I'm supposed to be doing this,
Uh-huh.
I've accidentally, the first drag queen I ever met was one of the biggest drag queens in the world.
What?
Um,
Wow.
I don't know what is. So there were breaks throughout my whole life.
Right.
But there was a definitive moment in my older years, as an
Mhm.
adult or a young adult,
Right.
where it was like, okay, this is something you can't ignore now. Like this is
Yeah.
clearly supposed to
Yeah.
be in your life, So
Mm.
that's when I started taking it a bit more seriously and started pursuing it and things like that.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Who is what is her name, did you say? Because I feel embarrassed. I don't know the name.
no, it's fine. So it's a drag queen called Lady Bunny.
Lady Bunny?
Yeah, she's American.
Hold on. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
she's known for being a bit messy, um, but she always wears massive blonde hair. She was huge, she still is huge, in the
Mhm.
drag scene.
Uh-huh.
But she's very much known. Yeah, honestly, look her up. She's hilarious.
Uh-huh.
Really, really funny bitch. And she was there when RuPaul was getting started out. It was
Oh,
her and Lady Bunny who were sort of carrying themselves up, as well as Michelle Visage and a couple of other people.
right.
Um, but this she's one of the people that defined drag as what it is today. Um,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it was just fucking crazy. Like like they talk about her all the time on Drag Race, like
Uh-huh.
little references. I think she's been on a few episodes just as like a guest performer or a guest judge or something like that. I think they even had an episode that was like the roast of Lady Bunny.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Right.
and they had her sat in an open casket for the whole show whilst these queens were roasting her, and she was, sort of chatting shit on the side. So, it's yeah, but the thing is with drag that you find is
Mhm.
that once you're in the drag world, you know everybody. But if you're
Mhm.
not necessarily in it, or if you're still new to it, there's
Uh-huh.
quite a lot of stuff that will just go flying straight over your head.
Oh,
Um, that
oh,
takes a
wow.
little bit of time to pick up, So don't
What?
worry about not knowing them. You'll know them
Oh,
eventually.
okay. What is it about that though? Like when you're in it, you'll know about everyone?
Well, the thing is that drag is such like it almost feels a bit niche, and obviously it has become more
Mhm.
mainstream.
Right.
Um, but in terms of like the way queens talk, the lingo that we use, the
Mm-hmm.
things that we do, even just like the makeup tricks and stuff, it's not
Right.
until you're in that scene and actually looking for it that you'll find it.
Mm.
Um, and so it's sort of it's not as if we keep it inclusive, because it's like it's not an exclusive thing. Like, you can't just know about this shit if you're a drag queen. It's
Right.
more just that once you start to delve into this world, it's almost like you're opening up a can of worms and they're just going
Mm.
everywhere. And then suddenly it's just like, holy shit, there's all of this stuff that I never even
Oh.
realized.
Mm.
And I remember when I
Um,
was first sort of accepting my queerness and really sort of putting myself in these community spaces, it took me a while to really be in it, because there was a
right.
lot of references I wasn't understanding, whether it
Yeah.
be pop culture, history,
Mhm.
just like things within local communities that have happened that you need to know about that are referenced. There's a lot of things that that you kind of need to pick up on. And then it's funny because if I'm ever explaining it to like straight friends, which
Right.
I nickname hetties for heterosexuals,
Mm.
um
I like that.
It's yeah, it's quite funny. It's like, oh, the Hetties are over there, hi girls, and they're all like, yes, so but it's quite interesting to say something, them not know what's going on, and them ask, and then it's like, oh, now I'm having to explain a joke that is sort of so deeply embedded in my brain that it's no longer like I've not had to explain it for years,
Mm.
and so it almost doesn't make sense to me when I explain it back to people, It's like, why do we say that? I have
Ah,
no idea, So,
right.
but it is good fun,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
always funny.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally
So,
relate to that. If I'm like explaining something to a family member or friend, I'm like, oh yeah, you're just making me realize right now, like reflect more on that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I feel like you're also describing how I felt when I think one of the I guess Fletcher definitely has been one of the people that when I first began to listen, also other people, but when I began to listen to her music, I feel like she was the artist that kind of opened the tunnel for me, and when it was I couldn't like ignore any of the
mm.
like
Which artist was that, sorry?
um Terry Fletcher.
Carrie Fletcher,
Yeah.
the YouTuber. That's
She's a singer in from New Jersey.
oh, I
Like,
see. Okay.
yeah.
There's a
Like,
YouTuber called the same person. I was like, what? I didn't know she,
oh,
So I was like, that's the only Carrie Fletcher I know.
no, no,
But
no. Yeah, there's a go. Yeah, but yeah, I love that. That's inspiring to hear that story, and I love how like also just your I love your energy and your vibe.
well, thank you.
Like very sweet. When did you come into how did you get into business? And I also love that how you feel like you've always or you describe that you feel more creative in that sense, so that you have
Mm,
like had a hard time leaning into business because I feel like I don't know, I'm also asking from a perspective of that I feel like I'm just kind of coming into that now. Like I've had a little interest in business growing, and I think I'm having some moments that's coming up for me throughout the last year. I'm
mm,
like, oh, maybe that was something when I was like 14. But I've always been very creative with a lot of what I've done.
mm.
Um, so I've like it's been I don't know, I feel like it has been hard to like kind of figure out, and I guess I don't know, delve into that. How have you kind of done that?
You mean,
How
so in what sense, like business in what sense?
well,
Like drag as a business or?
yeah, I feel yeah, drag because there is the business side to that, but also did you study business or what did you study?
Well,
You said you went to
bas
yeah,
basically, I went to college.
right.
Everybody, well, most people go to college in the UK, and
Uh-huh.
you pick four A levels. And I
Okay.
really wanted to do music and drama.
Mm,
Um, but my family comes from a small business. They've always had small businesses, and my mum and dad started when I was born a furniture business. So
mm,
they are very business orientated. And my mum kind of wanted me to do an A level, which was, had career prospects, if you know what I mean,
mm,
because,
mm.
oh, you're never going to make money doing drama or music or whatever.
Right.
Um, so when I was picking my A levels, she wanted me to do English, business, and economics, and then I was allowed to take drama.
Mm,
So I started college and started doing business and economics, and I was fucking shit at it. Honestly, I was so bad at it because I didn't care. I didn't
mm,
like it, and it's
mm,
so hard to study something when everybody else has the mindset for it. They've maybe done it in the past. They
mm,
care. They want to start their own businesses, and I was just like, I don't want to be here. These
mm.
numbers make no sense to me. I don't give a shit.
Right.
And so behind her back, I actually dropped out of business and started doing music instead. I did
Mm.
audio engineering.
What?
Um,
Mm.
because that was something
Yeah.
I was super, super interested in. And then I did
Mm.
economics for a year and then basically failed it and dropped it for my second year of college,
Mm.
because I just didn't see the point in it.
Mm.
And
Right.
um, I wish I'd had the opportunity to have more creative freedom and choice around what it was that I studied when I was younger.
Mm.
Um, because I do feel like it maybe would have taken me, because I am where I am today because of the upbringing I've had, but I do feel like I
Right.
always would have ended up here at this
Mm.
point, maybe not in Finland, that's a bit of a, curveball, but I feel like I always will have
Mm.
ended up doing drag and something creative. So I wish I'd had the chance to pursue that earlier on in my life to truly figure out what it is that I do. It could have led to me being, realizing I was queer sooner. It could have changed my whole life and I had no idea.
Mm.
Um, so in that sense, that's why I sort of, you know, hate business, and
Mm.
wasn't good at
Wow.
studying it.
Mm.
But since doing drag and now I'm getting paid to do drag and I've been
Mm.
doing it full time over the summer, um I
Mm.
find that that little business mindset of like, even if it's just negotiating your pay, making sure you're getting the best deal, because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, the money I earn through performing is paying to put the lights on in my house.
Mm.
So it's important for me to have that sort of like forward thinking of like, how much money do I need to make at the end of the month? Am
Mm.
I missing a couple of gigs? Where can I go and get those gigs? How
Mm.
much money is gonna, like, taxes? Fuck me, I hate taxes. And so,
Oh.
but it's all this stuff that I've had to sort of like pick up along the way.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm not going to say it's my favorite part of doing drag. Um,
Okay.
it's more of a
Okay.
necessity, but
Okay.
it has allowed me to sort of fall in love with business
Mm.
and sort of like think of drag as more of a like a professional environment,
Mm.
a working environment, rather than just like, I'm going to put
Mm.
on a wig and roll around on stage
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel like it definitely brings more like I don't know, integrity to it also. Yeah.
yeah, it's sort of, I feel like it separates sort of like the hobbyists from the
Mm-hmm.
professionals. you
Yeah,
know
exactly.
how you write emails, how you respond to people, how you go about getting your own gigs, how you represent yourself when you're on the job, off the job.
Mm-hmm.
It is a full-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I do feel like if I hadn't have sort of had the upbringing I had, maybe, and like worked in the corporate settings that I have worked in, um,
Mm.
maybe I wouldn't be as successful at this side as I am today.
Mm.
So, but that sort of comes through experience, speaking to other
Right.
queens, talking to them about, well, how much do you get paid?
Right.
Um, how much should I charge? Being able to have
Mm.
those conversations early on in my career meant that I was, able to do the right thing later on,
Right.
and I wasn't going to get scammed by, shit venues and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. How
yeah.
how are they like how do you find that the conversations are around how much you get paid and if you want to have a raise in what you
Mm.
get, like is it yeah, is it something that you feel open about talking about with people,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
is it
yeah.
some okay, okay, okay,
I
yeah.
mean, I like to describe myself as a bit of an open book. For
Right,
me, even when I was in corporate settings, in actual physical 9 to 5 jobs,
right, yeah,
I would always discuss pay with people because I think it's important that we discuss pay.
yeah,
Um, not just from a, small business drag queen perspective, but from like a 9 to 5 worker. I could be
yeah,
sat
yeah.
next to somebody who is getting paid
Mm.
3 times as what I'm getting paid, but I could be doing more
Mm.
work or I could have more experience than them. And so, it's I think it's important to know what people are getting paid.
Yeah.
So then you know what you're getting paid,
Yeah.
because like if my experience isn't as much as somebody else and somebody else is getting £1,000 for a gig, then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, they've got all this experience, they
Mhm.
do this special thing that I don't do. So what will I charge in order to make sure I'm getting enough money for what I
Yeah.
do, but also that I'm not taking the piss? Because if I went in and said, I want £1,000,
Right.
people will go, well, you don't do what she does. She's better than you. She's been on the TV, she's done this, that, and the other. Why do you think you? And so then I look like a bit stupid.
Right.
But I've found within the last year, I've had more and more drag artists, especially in Finland, um, come to me and ask, what should I get paid for this gig?
Yeah.
And I'm happy to sort of have that discussion and say, okay, well, what is it that they want you to do? Let's calculate this. How many hours is that going to be? If you were to
Mhm.
do this in your normal day job
Okay.
at your normal wage, how much would that cost you? How
Mhm.
much is it going to cost you to get there and back and all this kind of
Right.
stuff that people don't think about.
Yeah.
It's why I'm always sort of, whenever I'm doing gigs or if I'm producing gigs, I
Mhm.
always want to make sure that the artists are actually getting paid, not just like a pot split, because pot splits don't guarantee you'll actually make any money. You always
That's
hope you
good.
will. Yeah, so pot split is when you might have tickets, you might sell tickets for €10, call it.
Mhm.
And the amount of, so if you sell 100 tickets at €10, you make £1,000 or €1,000. Um, and then if you've got 10 performers, you then have to split that £1,000 between 10 people, which
Right.
means that everybody gets €100. But you
Right.
also have to take into consideration whether the venue also wants part of that money, because the venue
Mhm.
might want 30%, 50%.
Okay.
If a venue ever charges 50%, that's bullshit, by the way. Don't ever
Okay.
let them charge 50%.
Mm.
Um, but they may want 30% of that as part of their sort of like agreement for letting you run the show in
Right.
their venue and not paying the set price, because usually the set price for a venue is too much money for people.
Mm.
Um, so, when you take all of these things into consideration, that £1,000 suddenly doesn't go as far as you think it will.
Mm.
And then suddenly you've made a new outfit, you've bought a new wig, you've
Yeah.
traveled to the venue, you've put your contacts in that cost you X amount of pounds per pair. And then suddenly and then you pay your taxes and you're walking
Yeah.
away with a handful of change. You have no money.
Mm.
Um, and so that's why I think it's important
Mm.
to 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 pay people a set wage, so then they can budget for their month. If they need to pay rent, they know, okay, well, that gig's going to pay me this amount of money.
Segways?
um mm,
Oh, how does that?
so sorry, what was that?
Just how does that work? Sorry,
mm.
but I've never heard about segways. But it sounds like a really good, like, yeah, way to.
Oh no,
Oh, you
so like
know, yeah,
um
you go on.
no, no, it's sort of I don't know. I've forgotten what I was saying. I think the thing is that it all
Mm.
depends. Like when you're producing a show, you need to make sure you sell a certain amount of tickets. And if
Right.
you promise a performer a certain amount of money, and
Yeah.
you don't sell enough tickets to get that amount of money, then you have
Mhm.
to make sure that as a producer, you're willing for it to come out of your pocket. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that person has still turned up to do the job you've asked them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um I'm very much like for the community. I'm very much like trying to build
Yeah.
up the community here
Mhm.
in Finland,
Yeah.
because it's sort of like it a lot of people still describe it as underground, which pisses me off. um and in order to fully support the community, it's a case of giving opportunities and paying where you can.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
And so, I really do try and practice what I preach in that sense, because that's what I would expect from other people.
Yeah. Yeah. What is underground? I've never heard about that thing before.
I don't even know. I
Is it
honestly,
is it
I
tired? Like, I can
it's
kind of sense. I know that. Yeah. Sorry. Go
it's
on.
underground is sort of it's not popular. Basically, underground is sort of like not popular, not really out in the mainstream,
Right.
not
Oh,
um not necessarily known by a lot of people.
right.
It's sort of a way of describing, like if you had a really niche TV show
Yeah.
or a group of people that you hung around with that produced a certain event and a certain type of group of people always turned up to that event, that would be underground.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing is that for me, when I first moved to Finland and people started describing it, oh yeah, the drag scene here is pretty underground.
Mm.
I was going, fuck that. Why are we underground?
Right.
Like these people are very talented. They have,
Right.
they put on great shows. They take a lot of pride in what they do. Why are you happy with just sitting underground? Like show it to everybody. Um, and so, I'm very much over the past year, especially, I've very much been battling this idea that drag is
Right.
underground. It's like, no, we have a place up top. Like we have a place
Mm.
above ground, bitch. Like make room for us. There's
Right.
enough people that like us that want to be there. But it's sort of it just takes a lot of time and effort and work,
Right.
to
Yeah.
destroy that sort of mindset that a lot of people have around this art form. Because drag isn't underground in other countries. In Manchester, drag is fully in the open.
Right. That's what
Um,
I'm wondering. What is it that makes it like something that makes people perceive it as underground? Like, how do
It's
they
just because
change
it's not
that?
popular. It's not popular, The first year I did drag in this country, it was very much the same people turning up to the same gigs
Right.
all the time. You're not reaching a new audience. Um, and so you were never building an audience because it was the same people and they tended to be your
Mm.
friends and your family and, people you went to school with and things like that.
Mm.
So the thing is that like drag in other countries, such as Manchester,
Mm.
because they're in big clubs and these big clubs are in the city centre, and people might just walk in one night wanting a drink, and then there's some drag queen up on stage giving it all of this and doing all the fucking dance moves. That's inviting them in,
Mm.
that's above ground. But then
Mm.
when we aren't given the spaces in Finland in certain clubs or settings, which means that it is more difficult to reach these wider audiences.
Mm.
Um, that's how it sort of is underground. But a lot of work has gone in, not just by me, by a lot of
Mm.
people within the community over the past year, um, to really expand the world of drag and make it bigger and better
Yeah.
and all of this kind of stuff. So that's been really nice to see.
Hmm. What has been some of the um Zoom has 6 minutes right now until it kind of closes down, so I'm gonna try to kind of wind it down.
Hmm.
But I have one question I'd like to finish this one off with. It's really interesting this to me. Like yeah. I've not I guess it's because I haven't talked a lot about drag, and
Mm.
so it's really opening things up for me. And what are some of the ways that, or what do you find to be some of the ways that I guess you market the best? Is it the social media, or is it posters? Do you do posters, or
Yeah. You find that if you stick posters up, they cost you money to print, and
right?
then you always
Yeah,
get some young teenager, an asshole, who will graffiti
right.
it, draw all over it, rip it down. So it's just a waste of time.
Hmm.
The best way is definitely Instagram.
Okay,
But the problem I find with Instagram is that unless you're already in the community, you're
right.
not exposed to it naturally.
Mm,
So it's very much a battle to reach better audiences. But
right.
that's why at my gigs, I say to the audience members, your homework is to tell a friend or bring one next time,
Mm, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like you're sick of hanging around with the same bitches, bring somebody else in.
Mm.
Like that. If you know someone who will enjoy this, get them in. Entries are very cheap. You'll have a good
Mm.
time. Get a couple of drinks down you. We'll all have fun. And it's that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
And having these monthly gigs where you can build a reputation, not just for yourself, but for a venue as well, that
Mm.
people will go, oh, well, that night of the month, that's when I go and see Georgie, or that's when I go and see Open Stage.
Uh,
And so, you find that they start to invite other people in because they go, oh, well, I'm going to do this on Saturday night. Do you want to join me?
mm.
And so it's a bit slow,
Mm.
but it's a great way of building an effective audience.
Right. Okay.
And because if you build an established audience and look after them by putting on great venue after great, great show after great show,
Right.
they will look after you by carry on coming, supporting, cheering, you know, um, and things like that. So, it's tit for tat, as we say in the UK.
Mm.
So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's all about just building that relationship up with your audience and making sure that you're open to inviting new people. And accepting of all people. I've had lots of
Mm.
weird questions from audience members who have never seen drag before, and I'm
Mm.
always happy to answer, even though
Right.
sometimes I'm like, what the fuck, So,
Hmm. Right.
so
Um what would be what are three venues that we could or some venues that we could mention today in the pod?
um, so Mixe is probably the best venue
Mhm. Oh.
for in Tampere. I perform there every month. The owner is amazing, and it's the
Mm.
oldest queer venue in Finland, which is
Mm.
fantastic. So it's really
Wow.
nice that they have a drag show that goes on a monthly basis.
Mm.
I'd also, rather than shouting out a venue, I'd rather shout out like a night, which is
Uh-huh.
Open Stage Finland, which takes place in Helsinki every month.
Got it.
This is open applications for all. We organize 10 performers on stage who can be from any form of queer art. We've had spoken word, we've had singers, we've had drag, burlesque, circus, you name it. We're happy to have it. And that's one thing we're really doing to build sort of like a queer welcoming space, and also a safe space for new performers or people
Mm.
who are established performers that want to try something new.
Yeah.
um and then in terms, it's hard to pick a venue, but more
Yeah.
just
Okay.
like
Yeah, sure.
like a show.
Yeah, sure.
um
Yeah.
I would say shout out to like all of the drag artists in Finland, especially the ones that I'm really close with, because it's
Mm.
without them and their dedication and their work towards this craft
Mm.
that this wouldn't be possible. It's very much a group effort, and there's a lot of people that I really, really enjoy working with. And
Mm.
so it makes my job easy, because if I don't have to worry about turning up to work, because I know I'm going to see my friends and I'm basically getting paid to have a show, have a kiki, have a laugh, have a drink,
Mm.
it allows me to carry on doing this and allows us all to keep pushing forward to
Mm.
better establish drag within this setting and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's some fabulous performers in this country who I'm really glad I can call friends rather than just like colleagues or
Mm.
acquaintances. And they're so talented. So that's the best part about drag and the things that I would recommend to people.
Yeah.
You know, if I
Yeah.
love them, you're gonna love them too,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'm gonna put them in the description too, so that you all could, who are listening, can go down and check it. And you on Instagram before we go out.
yes, my Instagram is @_GG Queen, and I have to spell it out because people get it wrong. It's spelled GEEGEE Queen, or if you're in Finland, it's GG Queen. So,
Oh my
so I did. I'm